I 30M am engaged to Lauren 27F and we've been together for 3 years. We first met at a networking event through mutual friends back in 2021. I was actually planning to leave early that night because these events always felt awkward to me, but my friend Mitch insisted I stay for just one more drink. That's when Lauren walked in with her group of friends. She immediately stood out, not because she was the most beautiful woman there, but because of how genuinely she laughed and how everyone seemed drawn to her energy. Mitch knew one of her friends and introduced us. We ended up talking for hours about everything from our careers to our shared love of true crime documentaries. She works in marketing for a major tech company while I'm in finance. What really drew me to her was how ambitious and put together she seemed. Unlike my previous relationships where I felt like I was always the one pushing for growth, Lauren had her own goals and dreams. We started dating soon after and things moved pretty quickly. Within 6 months we were practically living together, and by the 1-year mark, we were discussing our future. I proposed 6 months ago during a weekend trip to the coast. She cried, said yes, and we immediately started planning our wedding for next spring. I always knew Lauren had an active dating life before me. She would occasionally mention ex-boyfriends or dating stories, but never went into detail and I never asked. I had my share of relationships too, 3 serious ones and some casual dating, but nothing wild. We both agreed that the past was the past and what mattered was our future together. Everything was perfect until last night. Lauren was at a party with her college friends at Emma's house. These get-togethers happen every few months when everyone's schedules align. Usually, I'd join them but I had a late meeting, so we agreed I'd pick her up around 11 p.m. I arrived about 15 minutes early and ran into Mitch, the same friend who introduced us, outside. He was having a smoke and we started catching up since he'd been traveling for work lately. After our chat, I headed inside to get Lauren. The front door was unlocked and music was playing, but not too loud. As I walked toward the living room, I heard laughter and Lauren's voice. They were playing some drinking game called Never Have I Ever Mixed with Truth or Dare. I was about to announce myself when someone, I think it was Emma, asked Lauren about her wildest sexual experiences. What followed next made me feel physically sick. Lauren, clearly tipsy but not drunk, started sharing stories with shocking detail. She talked about multiple threesomes and foursomes at music festivals, specifically mentioning one time with 3 guys at Coachella. She described going to sex clubs with her college friends where she would hook up with strangers while others watched. There were stories about making sex tapes with different partners and apparently sharing them in some private online group. She mentioned a phase where she was into extreme BDSM, letting multiple partners restrain and blindfold her for hours. She laughed while describing how she once had sex in a moving car with her teaching assistant, then later that same day with a different guy at a party. The level of detail she went into about positions, locations, and specific acts made me realize these weren't made-up stories. But what truly broke me was what came next. Jake, one of her male friends who I never liked, now I know why, drunkenly said, "Damn, I wish I was the lucky guy marrying you." Everyone laughed, and Lauren's response shattered my world. She said, and I remember this exactly, "Oh no, those days are behind me. My fiancé is way too nice for all that stuff. He respects me too much to treat me like the little slut I used to be." More laughter followed, and she continued, "He's such a gentleman. Could you imagine him making me wear his cum while having dinner with my parents like Marcus used to make me do?" She was referring to her ex from grad school, who I'd heard mentioned before but never like this. Then Emma asked if she missed those wild days. Lauren's response was vague but telling. "Sometimes you miss the excitement, you know? But you can't act crazy forever. I needed to find someone stable and trustworthy. Someone who would be a good husband and father." I stood there feeling like my whole world was crumbling. Every intimate moment we'd shared suddenly felt fake. All those times she told me I was the best she'd ever had, were those lies too? Was I just the safe choice? The boring guy she settled for because she was done being wild? I quietly left before anyone saw me and drove around for an hour before texting her that I was running late due to work. When I finally picked her up, she acted completely normal, kissing me and telling me she missed me. I could barely look at her. Now it's 3 a.m. and I'm typing this while she sleeps next to me, occasionally mumbling in her sleep. I feel sick thinking about everything I heard. It's not even about the number of partners or specific acts, it's about how she sees me. I'm apparently the boring, safe choice she settled for after having her fun. The guy who respects her too much to fulfill her real desires. I keep thinking about our sex life, which I always thought was great. We're intimate 3 to 4 times a week, try different positions, use toys sometimes. But now I realize she's probably been holding back, seeing me as too vanilla to handle her true preferences. Every memory feels tainted. The wedding is in 8 months. We've already put down nearly $20,000 in deposits. Our families are excited, my parents adore her and her parents treat me like a son. We were even looking at houses last week. But how can I move forward knowing she sees me as the boring safe choice? Someone she had to tone herself down for? I haven't eaten since yesterday and called in sick to work today. I can't stop picturing her in all those scenarios she described. Every time she moves in her sleep, I feel like moving away. How do I even begin to address this? Do I tell her what I heard? Try to be more adventurous? Call off the wedding? If I confront her, will she just tell me what I want to hear? I need advice because right now I'm lost. Part of me wants to pretend I never heard anything, but I know that's impossible. Another part wants to end things immediately. And a small voice keeps asking if I'm overreacting to something that happened before she met me. Please help me figure out what to do. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your perspectives really helped me think things through, especially those who shared similar experiences. These past 2 weeks have been the hardest of my life, and a lot has happened. After my original post, I spent several days barely functioning. I called in sick to work for 3 days straight, something I've never done before. I couldn't sleep more than 2 to 3 hours at a time, and when I did, I had nightmares about what I'd heard. Lauren noticed something was wrong, but I kept making excuses about work stress and a potential stomach bug. Every time she tried to be intimate, I made excuses. The thought of touching her made me physically ill because all I could think about were her stories. She started getting concerned about my behavior, especially when I stopped sleeping in our bed and moved to the guest room, claiming I didn't want to disturb her with my tossing and turning. Things came to a head last Friday. Lauren had planned a date night to cheer me up, but I couldn't take the facade anymore. As we sat at dinner, barely touching our food, I finally broke. I told her everything, about arriving early at the party, hearing her conversations with her friends, and how her comments made me feel. I even quoted her exact words about me being too nice and respecting her too much. Her reaction was not what I expected. At first, she got angry, accusing me of spying on her and violating her privacy. Then she switched to defense mode, saying she was just drunk and trying to seem cool in front of her friends who still live wild lifestyles. According to her, most of those stories were exaggerated or completely made up to fit in with the group. I might have believed her if she had stopped there. But she kept talking, getting more emotional and defensive. She started turning it around on me, saying I was sexually repressed and that's why she never felt comfortable sharing her past. She claimed I was too judgmental and that's why she had to sanitize her history for me. Something about her reaction felt off. The details she shared at the party were too specific to be made up. The names, places, and events she mentioned, it all felt too real. That night, after she went to sleep, I did something I never thought I would do. I checked her old laptop that she rarely uses anymore, the one she kept from her grad school days. What I found destroyed me completely. There were folders dating back to her college years, meticulously organized by year and person. Hundreds of explicit photos and videos, many with faces clearly visible. Some were fairly tame, others were exactly the kind of extreme content she described at the party. But the worst part wasn't the old content, it was finding messages between her and Jake from just 2 years ago, while we were already together. The messages went back and forth for months. They were sexting, sharing explicit photos, and planning meetups when I was out of town for work. There were even videos they made together timestamped during our relationship. Jake wasn't just some friend from her wild past, he was a current affair. I spent hours going through everything, feeling sicker with each discovery. Around 3 a.m., Lauren found me in the home office, still at her laptop. She took one look at the screen and broke down. Through tears, she confessed that she and Jake had hooked up several times early in our relationship when I was traveling for work. According to her, it wasn't serious and ended over a year ago. She kept saying she was confused back then, that she wasn't sure if she was ready to settle down. She swore she ended things with Jake because she realized she truly loved me. She begged me not to throw away our future over some stupid mistakes from when she was still adjusting to commitment. I packed a bag and left that night. Lauren followed me to the car, crying and causing a scene in our driveway. She kept saying I was overreacting, that everyone has a past, that she's not that person anymore. She even tried to guilt me by bringing up the wedding deposits and how devastated our families would be. I've been staying at a hotel for the past week. Lauren alternates between apologetic messages about how sorry she is and angry texts accusing me of being insecure and controlling. Her friends have been bombarding me with messages too, saying I'm throwing away a great relationship over ancient history. The worst part is dealing with family. I had to tell my parents something, so I just said we're having serious issues and the wedding might be off. My mom broke down crying about having to cancel everything. She keeps asking what Lauren did that was so terrible, but I can't bring myself to tell them the full story. Lauren's parents called me yesterday. Her dad spent 20 minutes lecturing me about how no one is perfect and how I'm being selfish for judging their daughter's past choices. Her mom suggested I get therapy for my insecurities before throwing away a good thing. They have no idea about the cheating with Jake. I haven't been to work in days. I can't sleep without seeing those videos in my head. Every time my phone buzzes, I hope it's Lauren telling me there's a logical explanation for everything, that this is all a big misunderstanding. But I know what I saw. The timestamps don't lie. Jake had the nerve to message me too, claiming he and Lauren were just friends now and I was blowing things out of proportion. I blocked him immediately, but not before seeing that he's still a member of her close friends group on social media. I don't know what to do next. The logical part of me knows I should just end things completely, but 3 years of love and plans don't just disappear overnight. Every time I close my eyes, I see those videos or picture her with Jake during all those business trips I took last year. Lauren keeps saying we can work through this in couples counseling, that she'll cut off contact with Jake and all her old friends. But how can I ever trust her again? How do I know she won't just get better at hiding things? I'm supposed to meet with the wedding planner next week about final arrangements. I guess I should cancel that first. I just don't know how to begin unraveling the life we built together. Update 2: The situation has gotten even more complicated since my last update. After I moved to the hotel, Lauren started telling everyone her version of events. According to her, I'm a controlling, sexually repressed person who invaded her privacy by snooping through her personal belongings without cause. She's painted herself as the victim of my toxic masculinity and slut shaming. Some of our mutual friends have sided with her completely. Emma, the one who hosted the party, posted a long social media rant about men who can't handle women with sexual agency. She never mentioned me by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. 2 other friends from our core group have blocked me entirely. However, not everyone bought Lauren's story. Mitch, my friend who introduced us, reached out privately last week. Turns out he knew about Lauren and Jake's relationship but assumed it ended before she met me. He apologized for not warning me earlier and shared some disturbing information. Apparently, Jake wasn't the only one she was seeing during our relationship. According to Mitch, Lauren had maintained contact with several ex-partners throughout our relationship. He'd seen her getting too close with guys at parties when I wasn't around and heard rumors about her meeting up with people when I traveled for work. He never had concrete proof, so he kept quiet, but now he felt I needed to know. Other friends started coming forward too. Lisa, who I thought was firmly in Lauren's camp, sent me screenshots of conversations from a girls' group chat. Lauren had been bragging about her side adventures while simultaneously planning our wedding. She even joked about whether she should invite some of her hookups to the ceremony. The final bombshell dropped 3 days ago. I received an anonymous email containing a link. When I clicked it, I found myself on an OnlyFans page, Lauren's OnlyFans page. The account was active and had been running throughout our entire relationship. She'd been posting explicit content regularly, including recent photos taken in our apartment, some in the bed we shared. I confronted Lauren about this over the phone. Her response left me speechless. She acted like I was being unreasonable for having an issue with it. According to her, OnlyFans was just a way to make extra money and express herself sexually. She argued that since she never met these men in person, it wasn't cheating. When I brought up how she never mentioned this during our many conversations about finances and career choices while planning the wedding, she accused me of trying to control her body and income. The argument got heated. She started screaming about how I was trying to shame her for being sex positive and financially independent. She claimed that my reaction proved she was right to keep it from me because I'm too judgmental to understand modern relationships. When I mentioned the wedding, she said I was threatening her livelihood by trying to make her choose between marriage and her business. I've officially canceled the wedding. Lost over $20,000 in deposits, but it's better than spending my life with someone who could lie so easily. My parents are devastated but supportive after I finally told them everything, including the cheating and OnlyFans situation. Dad offered to help with the lost deposits, but I declined. I need to handle this myself. Lauren's response to the cancellation was to escalate her smear campaign. She's now telling everyone I was emotionally abusive, that I tried to control her sexuality and career, and that I threatened to expose her online work if she didn't comply with my demands. Some people actually believe her, despite having known me for years. The worst part is discovering that some of her family knew about her double life all along. Her sister reached out to apologize, admitting that she'd helped Lauren hide her activities because that's what sisters do. She even confessed to covering for Lauren during some of her meetups with Jake, including lying to me about their girls' nights out. I've contacted a lawyer to handle the formal separation of our assets and to discuss possible legal actions regarding the explicit content she recorded in our shared apartment without my knowledge. The lawyer advised me to document everything and avoid direct contact with Lauren or her family. I feel like I'm living in a bizarre alternate reality. 3 months ago, I thought I was marrying the love of my life. Now I'm learning our entire relationship was built on lies. Every memory is tainted. Even the proposal, was she meeting up with Jake during the weekend trip when I proposed? Update 3: It's been 3 months since everything fell apart, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. The fog of confusion and betrayal is lifting, and I can see things more clearly now. A lot has happened since my last update, and I felt I should share the conclusion of this nightmare. The smear campaign eventually backfired on Lauren. Her stories kept changing. First I was controlling and abusive, then I was sexually repressed, then I was threatening to expose her online work. People started noticing the inconsistencies. The final straw came when she claimed I had isolated her from her friends, but there were countless social media posts showing her at parties and events while we were together, many I hadn't even known about. Several of her friends reached out to apologize after discovering more of her lies. Emma, who initially blasted me online, sent a long message apologizing after finding out Lauren had slept with Emma's boyfriend last year. Apparently, Lauren had a pattern of seducing her friends' partners for fun and recording it without their knowledge. 3 other women came forward with similar stories. I learned more about her past relationships too. 2 of her exes contacted me after hearing about our split. Both shared eerily similar experiences. Lauren would present herself as reformed and ready to settle down, maintain the facade for a year or 2 while secretly continuing her wild lifestyle, then either get caught or move on to someone new. Her parents enabled this behavior by always defending her and attacking anyone who questioned her choices. The legal situation got messy. My lawyer discovered Lauren had been using our apartment for her OnlyFans content without my consent, which violated our lease agreement. She'd also been writing off portions of our rent and utilities as business expenses on her taxes, potentially implicating me in tax fraud. We're still sorting through this mess, but at least we never shared bank accounts. Lauren's latest attempt to hurt me was trying to spread rumors at my workplace. She sent screenshots of our private conversations to my boss, claiming I was unstable and using company resources to harass her. Thankfully, I had already explained the situation to my superiors in HR when I took time off, so her attempt failed. I've gone completely no contact and blocked her on everything. Had to change my phone number too after she kept calling from different numbers. Changed all my passwords and security questions after discovering she'd tried accessing my accounts. My parents and siblings have blocked her too after she tried manipulating them against me. Last week, I heard from Mitch that Lauren and Jake are officially dating now. She's telling everyone he's her soulmate who accepts her for who she really is. They're apparently living together in our old apartment, and she's still running her OnlyFans from there. Jake regularly appears in her content now. Some days I still miss the person I thought she was, but then I remind myself that person never existed. It was all an act designed to trap a nice guy while she continued living her secret life. The Lauren I loved was a carefully crafted character, not a real person. I've started rebuilding my life. Moved to a new apartment in a different part of town, joined a gym, reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my relationship. Not ready to date yet, but I'm not bitter about relationships either. This experience taught me valuable lessons about trust and paying attention to red flags. To everyone who supported me through this, thank you. Your advice and encouragement helped me stand firm when I was doubting myself. And to those going through similar situations, trust your gut. Don't let anyone gaslight you into accepting disrespect or betrayal by calling it sex positivity or shaming you for having boundaries. I won't be updating again unless something major happens. It's time to close this chapter and move forward.